It's a big package. It's got a lot of showings to it. It's got some historic drilling to it. We have enough bench strength in our board to be able to go all the way and build the thing. What is the end goal? Value. My job as the CEO of Eclipse is to create shareholder value.
I mean, that sounds like every single mining project that ever talks to me. A lot of people use that phrase, we're going to create shareholder value, without one understanding what that actually means. Why should people be listening to you if it sounds like every other story out there? Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you like it, give us a thumbs up and please remember to give us your comments below. We will try to get back to absolutely everyone and also helps us understand the sorts of questions and thoughts that you have when talking to companies. If you haven't already done so, please click the button in the corner of the screen to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And of course, if you want to see more videos like this one, click the notification bell. We talked today to Michael Allen, who's the CEO of Eclipse Gold Mining. They're a Nevada gold exploration play, relatively new. This is the team who developed and sold Northern Empire. They spent 10 million on that, sold it for 120 million. They're looking to replicate that success here. He talks through his business plan, the fact that they've raised $5 million to get them through to the beginning of next year to do a lot of RC drilling and work out what it is that they've got. Take a look in the description below to see some of the topics we discuss. Anything interesting in particular, click on the timestamp and that'll take you to that part of the video. Let's hear what Michael had to say. Hi Michael, how are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. Self-isolating here in Vancouver with everybody.
Yeah, I've been hearing everyone's taking it pretty seriously in Canada, right?
Yeah, it is a serious thing with the COVID and you know we've been asked to self-isolate. Everybody actually not self-isolate. Social distance is where we're at. So everybody's working from home. 2 meters from your neighbors if you go out to take your dog for a walk and stuff like that. But you know, life goes on, and it looks like you know we're going to have an interesting summer as we move through this. But it's a good time to be in the gold space.
Well, it is, and we're going to hear all about it. Well, I'm glad we're all adapting to life under different circumstances, but as you say, life goes on. So, can you kick off? Give us a 1-minute summary of your relatively new company, please.
Okay, Eclipse started trading on February 18th. It trades on the venture under the symbol EGLD. What Eclipse is it's an add-on or the second version of what I did with Northern Empire. We like to say that Eclipse is Northern Empire plus Pathway Capital plus Sandstorm. So it's an interesting bunch. If your readers don't know or your listeners don't know the Northern Empire story, I was the CEO of Northern. We acquired what was called the Sterling asset and from Imperial Metals. That was in May of 2017, and then we sold it in October of 2018 to Coeur for $120 million, and that was a 10 times return on our money. And it was a good win for shareholders. We went out at the all-time high.
Okay. So let's get into a bit of that detail later. So basically, you're looking for a kind of cookie cutter approach to what you've done in the past, and you're hoping to replicate that now.
It's probably a bit harsh to say cookie cutter because you know the Sterling was a unique circumstance. All these opportunities are a unique circumstance. You have to look at a property, look at an opportunity, and say, how can I create value? So it's not exactly cookie cutter, but there's similarities. We're definitely baking cookies. We stayed in Nevada. We stayed in the Walker Lane. Rebuilt more or less the team on the ground. Augmented it with a few more stronger or a few more technical people in Vancouver, and now are executing on what's the Hercules Project down in Nevada.
Okay, so you're replicating as many of the moving parts as you can, but you're bright enough to know that you don't know what's under the ground yet. I like that. Okay, good. So we do get people coming on here and say, we'll just do what we did before. It'll be fine. It's not. Can we, if you don't mind, I'm really keen to understand what's going on in the head. So obviously you've had some success in the past and hopefully you made some money for yourself and your shareholders. But what's the business plan here, apart from trying to replicate some of the moving parts from Northern Empire?
One of the great things about being where we are right now and everybody, being alone and you get a chance to put together your thoughts. Past couple of days, I've put together a Gantt chart, and if you know me, my board likes to tease me. I'm very linear. I like to lay things out and go. It's what we're doing. I think the first step with the Hercules project, it's something that's forgotten. This is a project that's been around for a while, but like the Sterling, it was forgotten, lost within Nevada, and so we're going to be first of all articulating to the market what it is. It's a big package. It's got a lot of showings to it. It's got some historic drilling to it, and I think that the thing that the market needs to know is the scale of it. It's big.
But before you go there, Michael, what I'm trying to do is help people watching this to understand what type of business you are. Are you a project finder? Are you an explorer? Are you a developer? Are you going to try to build this thing out at some point? What, in terms of risk profile, what is it that you're trying to position yourself as?
I'm a businessman.
Okay.
And so it's a bit different. So my job as the CEO of Eclipse is to create shareholder value.
Always.
So in the junior mining space, there's a bunch of different tools that you have in your toolbox to go and create that. What we think about is creating value and creating liquidity for shareholders. So I can go down the route of expanding, drilling out resources and then flipping the project to a senior, mid-tier, whatever that is. Or if the market dictates it, we have enough bench strength in our board to be able to go all the way and build the thing. So my job isn't make discoveries or build mines or anything like that. It's to create shareholder value. So it actually gives me a bit of freedom to move around. So in terms of what is the end goal? Value.
I get that, but just to discuss this, because this is interesting to me, is I think a lot of people use that phrase, we're going to create shareholder value, without one understanding what that actually means. It should be just share price. That's it. Not market cap or because there are things which burden the company like debt or issuing too many shares, and there's lots of ways that the company can look fantastic but there's nothing for the shareholders. And secondly, not many people know how to deliver that, or when they're going to deliver it, and if they're going to be able to deliver it. So if you're going to focus on that, you better be damn sure you know what you're doing. So what precisely does this Gantt chart and path that you're creating look like?
I'll preface it, you got to have a plan to have a change of plan.
Good.
Right now, the next 3 years is delineating and expanding resources, and it's the exploration phase. The last year of that Gantt chart, and if you ever want to take a look at it, we can do that, is the project gets into the engineering phase of studies and PFSs. Right now, the project is pretty much grassrootsy, but it's got lots of showings and a lot of punch to it. And so articulate scale, resource 1, resource 2, resource 3, PEA, PFS, and at any point in time, be open for something corporate to happen. And if we get into that engineering stage, then we're probably going to be in a situation where we're going to go all the way and build it.
Okay, I mean that sounds like every single mining project that ever talks to me, right? But if
it is the.
So how do you stand out? Why should people listen to you, Michael? I guess what I want to. Why should people be listening to you if it sounds like every other story out there?
It is a good question. What makes us different? I think that probably the biggest thing that makes this project different is what I was referring to earlier, is the scale and the location. There's Nevada guys and those sorts of projects that are out there. This project is an hour outside of Reno. When you start to look at the geology, it's a complete exposed epithermal system at surface. I'm a geologist, so forgive me. So we're excited about it. It's a big project that will attract investment. It'll in terms of the alteration, the footprint, the scale of the project. It's something that we actually designed for scale, for having that value that we can say, okay, you can articulate value, you can create value, and you can attract investment and potentially attract either a takeout or a mining scenario. It's something that we designed into the company.
Now we're getting to it. Because that tells me something about your mindset about what you're trying to create here. Okay, so the scale is important. Being attractive to people with the capital to be able to develop something like that, because there are lots of companies with scale projects, but they can't get the money, right? So you're in an attractive part of the world. I get that. It's good mining jurisdiction. Lots of people around you. You've probably got a sense of costs and infrastructure, et cetera. So what does this year look like? I guess that's going to be determined by a few things like cash. So you've obviously you're new. How much cash have you got today?
Call it 5 million Canadian.
Right, and what are you going to do with it?
Well, we've got a drill on site right now, and so that's going to be going. COVID notwithstanding, we are going to be drilling on the project and start to articulate that scale to the market. The program that we're looking at right now is a dozen holes. There's 4 separate targets, so 3-4 holes into each target, and start to articulate to the market what we're dealing with here.
Because what type of drilling are you doing at the moment?
It's RC.
RC, okay. So it's a nice quick way of getting an indication of what you're looking at before you get in with the diamond, right? Okay, nothing wrong with that. So that $5 million, that's going to see you through till when on your current schedule?
Grossly speaking, this time next year.
Right. Okay.
The budget to try and exit the year with $1 million in the treasury.
Okay, fine. What do you hope you'll know by the end of this year, having spent $4 million on the ground? Well, not on the ground because you got your G&A, but what do you think you'll know at the end of this year?
What we think that we'll know by the end of this drill program is obviously the sense of the scale. Articulate those 4 targets. The database that we inherited was somewhat, for lack of a better term, sketchy. Fill in some of the gaps. The old timers, the database that we got, they did things like selective sampling, so every other 5 feet was assayed, and we showed it to the resource guys and the QPs, and they're like, "Yeah, no, there's nothing we can do with that." Right. But it clearly shows that there's a large system there, is what they said, and so you're going to have to drill it and start to fill in those gaps. Articulate the scale. The other main focus is also, it's a large land package. It's about 85 square kilometers. So there's going to be some boot leather work. The alteration and mineralization extended further to the south off of our original land package, and we staked the other 75 square kilometers. So some boot leather work. Also, this project came with a plan of operations. So in Nevada permitting, there's little permits. Notice level takes about 3 weeks to get, and then plan of operations takes about 2 years to get. This project came with one. So we're actually permitted to do a couple hundred different drill sites, build all the roads and stuff like that. So it's a real advantage to the company because you don't have that 2 years of burning G&A and while you're sitting here and waiting for all that to happen. But that particular permit that we got limits us to a certain area, and we want to already go beyond that. So we're going to be kicking off another permitting exercise to expand the plan of operations, with the thought in mind of expanding the drilling and expanding into having a site for infrastructure, starting that baseline study work. So we're already thinking about that part of the program further on.
Because I saw the press release from March 10th. Some nice grades in there.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Every time that we take a look at this thing, it impresses us and it shocks us. There's some snappy numbers. There's the beginnings of a potential high grade core to that. And if you think about the economics of an ultimate mine, if we can get a starter pit of, pick a number, 1.x downhill runs and all those wonderful things, that then we can get a big kickoff, a strong economic punch to drive the thing out of the hole, the project out of the hole, and then you can move into that large scale open pit mining, that generational mine that a major or a company builder can be.
Okay, so again, I like that. You're giving me some clues as to your thinking. I like that. Okay. So, I mean, you mentioned a G&A there. I mean, how many people are we talking about here? What's the overhead?
In the head office, myself, part-time CFO, VPIR, VPX, and a corporate secretary. The glue for the whole thing.
Right.
Ballpark number $1 million on a yearly basis.
Okay, so again, not too bad. So again, that helps us understand how much you're actually putting in the ground, or on site at least. Right. Yeah. Okay. That's not too shabby. So let's assume you can, with these sorts of numbers, continue and you work out what your program looks like for the rest of this year, and you can deliver it. You're gonna. What do you think the next phase is for the next year?
We're in uncertain times. So there's two ways to go at it. I mean, there's three ways. Batten down the hatches, and we can do that. There's a light program of starting to frame out resources from here to there. On this showing it looks mineralized, or we can go, and if the market gives us the credit or the ability to do it, we can go into delineating resources right away. So that ties back into that previous comment of having that plan of operations drilling. We can go into delineation drilling already. I actually had a conversation yesterday with our QPs. What's it going to take to get this into measured, indicated, and inferred? So that's sort of where we're thinking about going.
What's the answer?
Then, of course, that drives into budgets, whatnot from there.
What did he say?
He said 100 by 100.
Okay, you take that. And so how many holes are completed so far?
A half. What happened in Nevada with the COVID thing is they said all non-essential services shut down, and we had to say, okay, well, and then all right, what does that mean? And the drillers came to us and said, I think that we're going to get kicked out of our hotel. And it's like, you know what? You guys are supposed to go on break, so go on break, and we'll figure this out.
Right.
So what we've done in the meantime, we use a contractor, Longyear. They're a big contractor, multinational, and they've had a look at the situation. We've had a look at the situation, and the rig is on break. It's supposed to come back online on the 31st. Longyear has made up a standard operating procedure for how to deal with the COVID, the self-isolation, the wash your hands. They actually are even going to be doing temperature scans on all the guys. And so people are, that's the key indicator, like the coughing, everything is subjective. But if you've got a fever, this is it. And I mean, it's serious. But it's nice to be working with a really experienced contractor that actually has that gear already. They've got a heat stroke protocol for working in Nevada in the summertime. So they've got temperature gear so they can actually test everybody already. So we're looking at on Monday next week, we're going to have a go, no-go decision. If it's still unsafe for the people to work, then we'll shut down. The rig is on site and it just stays there. Nevada has said that mining is an essential business, so we are free to go and do our work. But right now we're in a situation where, while the rig's on break, let's just stop and assess this. Let's give it a thought. Part of my thinking, I have sort of two main responsibilities as the CEO of a company. First is safety. Everybody goes home at the end of the day. That's number one. Second, I got a responsibility to shareholders to try and create value for them. So I'm in a situation where I'm conscious of the people on the ground and making sure that there's a protocol and that it's safe for them to work while trying to execute value and create value for shareholders. And so right now, the rig's on break.
Okay, so it's on break. So did you say half a hole? Was that the answer?
Yes.
Okay. Right, but like you say, you've got
10 feet of a 1,000-foot hole. So
right, okay, but you've got responsibilities, especially during this period. I say to look after human life. That's number one here. I guess some companies will be hoping that the market gives them a pass for the next few weeks until this gets resolved, and you get to use that pass. But at the end of the day, the other thing that's going on is you're still burning through cash. So it's a tough one.
It is a tough one. I mean, we took that money from shareholders to execute. Not to G&A and fancy offices and whatnot. People want to know what's out there. It looks like this is a big project with scale.
Yeah.
And people want to see if we're right on.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I got to get everybody home at the end of the day too.
You got to get everyone home, and I think investors are going to be a little bit rational about what's going on out there. As long as there's, this would be a reasonable excuse. I mean, it's not just this is the market wide. I think there are other companies perhaps less. I'm less sure of that. That's their goal. But let's not talk about the ins and outs of COVID and COVID planning. What are the things that you learned on Northern Empire that you're applying here? And what were the things that you learned, actually? Tell me, what were the things you learned at Northern Empire and went, wow, I did not realize that going in, but that I think is useful. It's going to help me. I'm going to do that again. Or did you just get lucky?
No. Actually, true story. I looked at that asset for Northern Empire for 6 years before I got it.
Right.
So no, it wasn't luck. It was design. It was a push, a focus for me. What did I learn? Make sure you like the people that you're working with. That makes it a lot easier. Also, the role of marketing is there, being able to push and articulate the story. Also, in terms of being open for a transaction, that was also part of it. And I was fortunate at Northern Empire. I had an executive chair, a gentleman by the name of Doug Hurst. If you've ever met Doug, he is one of the wonderful people on the planet. And he helped with the philosophy of serving shareholders and creating value and those sorts of things. Probably when I was the first as a CEO of Northern Empire, I had that geo mindset of build it, drill it, whatever. And Doug was like, well, hold on a second here. Let's explain this and let's articulate this, have some thoughts. And what your actual job is to create shareholder value, not make discoveries and those sorts of things. So that was a real learning curve for myself, and I'm always grateful to Doug for taking that time and taking me under his wing with that. The other thing about what we did with Northern, people ask me about, you sold too early, and so we were just starting to get going, and then you the tech, and it's like, yeah, we went out at the all-time high. So
yeah. I love hindsight. That's one of my best investment tools. Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody ever really, selling for a profit is the goal. With Northern, we knew, or we had in our minds, that there was a section of the property that we called the Crown Block that was going to be about 3 to 5 million ounces. But we had to do the plan of operations. We had to do all that drilling. And so we were looking at a massive amount of dilution for shareholders. And then, so we were there, and then Coeur came in with the offer. So we went, okay, we've got plan A. There's an offer here from Coeur. We had actually an above market financing that was being offered, merger with the two other companies, or just go it alone, do something completely different. So, sort of 5 options to do it. Management recommendation, take the check, because we were looking at that big dilution, and we would have gone over that edge of the Lassonde curve and down into permitting purgatory and engineering studies and destroyed shareholder value. So we went out the door as close to the top as we thought that we could, and going out at the all-time high, it was a good deal for shareholders.
I think so.
So, yeah. But we left a lot of meat on the bone for Coeur.
You got it.
When you look to them now, that's probably the lesson that we learned is don't try and get it all, because then you make the other side look bad, and then they have no win either.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So obviously that was great success. So he's driving this. He's driving Eclipse. Did you put the team together? I mean, how did you all decide this was the deal you needed to look at? Where'd you find it?
Well, the way that it sort of came together, we said earlier, Eclipse is Northern plus Pathway plus Sandstorm. So after Northern Empire, I dusted off my Rolodex and I started to look at projects again. And I went to Nevada to take a look at a project. It wasn't Hercules; it was another thing. And I was told, by the way, Sandstorm is looking at this project as well. So I got back to Vancouver, and Sandstorm called me up and I said, hey, we're looking at a project in Nevada. You know a thing or two about Nevada from what we've heard. Do you want to come in and deal with it? Okay. And I knew Marcel from Pathway. And Pathway, if you don't know, spawned Sandstorm, created Sandstorm, and created Equinox. So, and Marcel had said we should get together and have a coffee at some point in time post NM. So it sort of was one of these weird serendipity things that's like, okay, I cleared with that vendor of the property. Can we do a joint evaluation? Yeah, okay. Looked at it, couldn't make it work, didn't like the project. And ultimately, Pathway said, we kind of like how you think. Why don't you sit here and go find something? Okay. And away it went. Marcel and I got to know each other, the Sandstorm guys and I got to know each other. Northern was around, or the people were around, and we essentially just sort of organically came together. The other part of it is through everybody's career paths or arcs, everybody's worked together in the past as well. The chairman of the company of Eclipse is a fellow by the name of Marcel de Groot. Marcel was a director of Underworld. Underworld was a project in Canada. Got taken out by Kinross. Coincidentally, financed my wedding, that transaction. But Adrian Fleming, Jeff Sundar, and Daryl Carty were all with Marcel at Underworld. So there's this team that have worked together in the past, had success, and like each other. And so there was a conscious coupling of a team coming together to create Eclipse and build it around myself and this asset in Nevada.
Excellent. So how much money have you put in?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Gosh, can my wife hear me on this?
Hopefully she'll watch the video.
Between $150,000 and $200,000.
Right. Okay. And okay. Well, that's okay. Is that meaningful for you?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, my house and my Eclipse portfolio are my largest positions.
Okay, that's good. We want to hear that, right? And the other board directors, did they put money in as well?
Oh yeah.
So what's the board sitting on?
On the floor, we're all on the same floor. I can walk around and get 45% of the company. I'm the largest shareholder. I'm just about 9.8.
Okay.
Marcel would probably be number 2. Doug would be number 3.
Okay, so you got the cheap shares. That's nice. And how do you remunerate yourselves? Do you just go big salary, or do you go salary plus incentive target? I mean, how do you manage that? There
is a salary. I still have a mortgage payment even after Northern Empire, so got to have cash flow. And then in terms of there is options and there is RSUs, it's a fairly standard compensation package. Right now, when Eclipse was private, the directors were not compensated, and right now we haven't set up any compensation for that. We'll debate that whether or not that needs to be done going forward, but it's not going to be. It's going to be de minimis. It's not going to be a huge burden for the company.
Right. It's some retrospective payment for the days you didn't get to pay yourselves. The days when you were entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, people got positioned.
Right.
So.
Well, I mean, you come on. You guys got to dish out some cheap stock to yourselves at the front end, and if then some people have come in. I mean, who are the other shareholders that have come in? Are there names there we'd recognize?
The way that we structured this company, this was a non-brokered IPO, so we had to come up with the names. So there's 400 shareholders in the company on February 18th, and we went forward. So in terms of the shareholder list, it's actually fairly widely distributed. One small fund is in it. I don't know if it's actually appropriate for me to reveal who it is. It's a small Canadian fund, and they've got a little piece of the pie.
Okay. So you've done a kind of extended friends and family round. You've raised enough money to see you through to the end of this year. You hope you're going to continue with the kind of drill results that we've seen so far. I appreciate it's RC, but if you get those sorts of numbers, it should be, but who knows in this current market, it should be enough to kind of move the dial, and you can raise some money next year to move through the next phase. Is that the plan?
The plan is to be ready to do a financing whenever a window opens, and so that's the plan.
But you're not going to raise money off the back of RC results realistically, are you?
Oh, if the market gives us the credibility, yeah. I mean, Nevada is an RC market, so that probably, I would say on a statewide basis, I would say 90% of the drilling in Nevada is RC, and so the results are credible. It's not to be confused with something like rotary air blast, which can't be used in a technical report for a resource estimate. RC in Nevada can be used for a resource. So this is real drilling that we're doing. It's not cheap and cheerful or doing anything like that. This is data that could be taken into a resource level.
Excellent. That's good news.
Yeah,
that's good news.
I mean, why would I throw money into the wind?
Well, we've invested in stuff in Africa, and they use RC to kind of give them a sense of what's going on, and I mean, it's fairly low grade stuff. It's 1-2 grams before they then deploy Diamond, and no one was funding those guys before Diamond was deployed. Not a chance. So it's a different market. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, wow. And I know to my detriment.
Okay, I've learned something new today as well. So thank you for that. I would say that going forward, what the rule of thumb is about 10% of the drilling will be core. So you'll drill for bulk essentially with RC, and then but the detail, the data, that real. If you need structure, then you need diamond. The challenge with diamond in Nevada or in an oxidized system is the ground conditions are terrible. It's horrifically expensive, and getting that structural data that you can get out of, say, a Canadian project, that all gets lost because it winds up looking like RC anyway.
True. Okay. Well, Michael, thanks so much for running through your news story. We love hearing news stories. Love talking to management teams, seeing what they're about. I think you've got a lot going on. You sound like you understand communication is important. So you're going to be talking regularly to the market when you have information, and presumably you'll be assaying along the way as well, will you?
Of course, yeah.
Beautiful.
I would say, assuming that we're able to execute and get going on the 31st, like we thought, I would say we're looking at a 4-week turnaround in the lab right now. I don't know how this condition has affected people putting samples into the lab, or their business right now. But for the sake of the argument, in Nevada, it's about a 4-week turnaround. So I would say give us a few days to get a couple of holes down, a batch into the lab, and then we'll be looking ballpark a month after that. So what is that, first or second week of May for results?
Great. We'll look forward to it. Give us a call when you get them. I'm excited.
Thank you.
Okay, Michael, thanks very much for today. I'll let you get back to your wife and your son who are trying to be quiet in the background for you, as I understand it. So appreciate your time.
All right, thank you very much for your time.
No worries. Have a great week. We'll speak to you real soon. Thanks so much.